Hey, welcome to whatever this is. three
Yeah,
three political guys talking about
I was, I
video
was
games.
thinking, is there like a World War II phrase between Canada, England, and America? I was looking it up because I was thinking, is Triple Alliance? I was like, no, that's like an imperial thing between like Germany and Austria-Hungary and somewhere. So it needs to have a name. But yeah, like obviously I'm on my main channel right now. I think you guys are both on your second ones.
Yeah, my second channel. Yeah,
I'm on my Twitch.
You're on your Twitch.
you're on your
Okay,
Twitch. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I see people in my chat already. So yeah, me and David, I put out a tweet months ago saying there needs to be like a leftist gaming podcast or stream or whatever. David liked it, so that's why we've been messaging about it for a while. But then I just said last week, I just keep kicking it down the road in my head, like, okay, I'll have some time then, I'll have some time then. And I was like, if we don't ever organize it, it's just not gonna fucking happen. So
Yeah, you just gotta do it.
Mike got drafted in as well. But I know you're
Happy
a
to
gamer
be
as well,
here.
Mike. So I've seen you both talk about it together on David's channel.
Mhm.
And I know what's good is I think we're all kind of different in terms of I know David plays everything, which is just
I play
insane to me.
everything.
Like,
Yeah.
I see on his PSN, I tweet about Dragon's Dogma and he hasn't even started it, and I thought I've played it, and I look at his account, it's like 50 hours already. But then Mike,
I beat that
I know
game.
I know
It
you're
was
more
sick.
hard. Yeah, I know you're more hardcore, Mike, than both of us with this stuff, with which we want to talk about because I know you like Lies of P.
He's hardcore in the sense that like he's really good at shit that I can't, like Souls games basically. Like you can dominate those, and I feel like I might be able to if I had the dedication to a single game at a time. But I play
Mhm.
like 5 games at a time. It's just not.
Yeah,
It's not
My
tenable.
tastes are very bizarre because I love Souls games. That's probably my favorite genre. But then my second favorite of most played is probably cozy games and like simulators, like Power Wash Simulator and shit like that. So I'm really
That's
all
a
over
good
the place.
dichotomy. That's a good mix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to switch it up after a Souls game, you know,
You
after
gotta
getting
wind
your
down
cheeks
to-
slapped. Yeah.
You gotta clean some things after you get destroyed by a boss.
Right, right.
Yeah. I also want to talk about that because I traditionally hate Dark Souls games, but I have had an experience this year. It might be an aging thing. I went back to Jedi Fallen Order, which I hated the gameplay of. I did the
Really?
whole game. I only died 3 times on hard on the last boss, and I was like, maybe I'm pretty good at this. And I went back to Jedi Survivor, and I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty, and I'm finding it really easy. And then I started Rise of the Ronin, which is made by the people who made Neo and Neo 2. And that has an easy mode I started on, but I bumped it up. So I'm thinking, am I getting good at like Dark Souls type games? As I don't know if it's a patience thing when you get older, like sort of like a samurai master or something. But I'm feeling like I'm going that way. But as we'll talk about, me and David have a very spicy take about Elden Ring, which actually
Those
I think
Jedi games, though. Well, I will say, I think you have the spicy take. My take is, I wish I was better at those games. But
I'm
you're
replaying
the
it
one-
right now, so I could
you're-
get offended. This could devolve into a debate. I'm
Oh,
nervous.
I really wanted us to, yeah. Like the DLC looks really cool, and I wanted to get back into it, but I just like I got stuck on an Elden Ring on like, so I got about, I think, 20 hours in. Really enjoyed my time. Like I think it's the best Souls game I played for sure, easily. I love the way they make they do the open world. There's so much to discover. Like it's really like that part of it for me. That's a big piece of like a lot of the games I'm into. I love exploration and discovery and just having the freedom to kind of to explore. But the issue I run into in that game is just like, I want to explore and then I get murdered. Like
Yeah.
I don't want these annoying, hard enemies in the way. I just want to discover new things. But I got about 20 hours in, and I hit like the so I was playing as, I guess, a mage. I forget what the classes are now, but the one that like shoots magic, because I know I don't have the time to do like a sword. So, but then I get to the boss where it's like this werewolf like in a castle, and there's like nowhere to move. So I start that fight, I just die immediately. And to get to that boss, it's like it takes like 20 minutes just to get to that point. I can't just save right beforehand. There's like so it's like, fuck this.
It's
I
in
don't
like
wanna
the
play this anymore.
Hogwarts magic school. Is that the one you're talking about? It has that wolf thing.
It looks like
in,
that.
the
Yeah.
church. Oh my god. I hard quit in 20 hours as well, but I got there and I'm like, how the fuck am I going to do this? I was playing a samurai, and I just what the one redeeming thing about Elden Ring is you can just be like, oh, I'm not doing this, and I'll go that way. And like you were saying, the exploration is good, and I enjoyed that about it. But they got to a point where I think I was in like the swamp, and then I got beaten so bad by a boss. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like 20 hours, I'm good. Like I've explored a lot of the map. I can't do this. And like with Elden Ring specifically, Mike, you can tell us how good it is in a sec. But in Elden Ring specifically, my main criticism is out of all the games inspired by Breath of the Wild, I hate only being able to interact with the world in terms of combat. Like I replayed Breath of the Wild after Elden Ring, just before Tears of the Kingdom. I was thinking it's fun to just kind of chill in this world or like climb trees and like get
Yeah, I
through,
like climbing.
explore. That's why I like Dragon's Dogma as well, because you have that
Yes.
downtime and you're like, what will I find that maybe isn't combat? With Elden Ring, it's like, what will I find that will kill me in more annoying ways? So I just want, before I give my really spicy take, like Mike, I was just wondering, like, what in terms of just like how brutal those games are, like even the exploration, why do you enjoy it more? Because it's all combat. Like, would you not prefer Elden Ring if it had some downtime and like maybe a village of NPCs all walking around doing stuff, or like do you just want that straight up like combat basically the whole time you're playing it?
I think that part of why I enjoy it so much is, I don't know, maybe masochism, maybe trying to prove to myself that I can do it. But I think that what you're explaining is a typical experience in every single Souls-like game, where you start playing and you're like, wow, this is fun. I get why people like it. But then you hit a wall. You run into a boss, and then you get your cheeks clapped, and then you're like, okay, fuck this. So at that point, which you're always going to run into in these games, that's when you have to readapt. That's when you really have to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a magic build? Do I want to do strength? And you have to start seeking help, figuring out what other players have found, what's the best weapons, how to upgrade. Because it's like a new experience every time. So my first run through of Elden Ring, I played as a magic build. This time I'm doing a quality build, which is a combination of strength and dexterity. And so it's a completely new play style. And so I'm having to relearn everything to fight in melee. And now I'm in that stage where it's like, okay, I can't do shit now because I cleared out all the beginning areas, and now I'm getting my ass beat everywhere I go. So I had to find a good spot to farm and grind, and now I'm in the process of upgrading my weapons. So you're always kind of forced to like stop and reevaluate what you're doing wrong. And that right there is where a lot of people get lost. And it almost lost me. So my first Souls game was actually Demon Souls on PS5, and I think it's the second.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm a newbie.
Really late to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a newbie. I played them all, but I'm a newbie. And so there's the Tower Knight boss, and I was so pissed because if you die in that boss, you have to go all the way back, make this trek through this huge area. There's a dragon that, burns you. It was so infuriating, but I forced myself to keep playing. And then after that, I got better armor and better weapons. So it's just one of those things where it's like, even though at the start of this game, it's just brutal and ruthless, you know that you're gonna come back to that boss and you're gonna destroy him at some point. You're gonna get so tough. And so like at the end of Elden Ring in my last playthrough, I think I was like level 170 or something. Like I had this magic power that I would just like, it was kind of like a Kamehameha wave, just blast the bosses, one hit them every single time.
I've seen some of that. Yeah, that like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want that like now. I don't want to have to work for that. I just want to get that beam of fire or light and just smash these bosses.
Yeah, that's what's exciting for me, is getting to that point where it's like you walk through like a god. But then again, you'll find a new area once you get to the areas you couldn't, and then you kind of get, a wake-up call where it's like, no, you get smacked down. You're still the bitch.
It sounds very much like a JRPG in that sense, where like you hit like a place where you can't do anymore, and you have to kind of like grind to level up, and then you can beat those. Like, but for me in a JRPG, it's less frustrating because it's very clear what I have to do. Whereas there's still the element of, well, I mean, unless you're powered up, like like you said, but there's still the element of having to know how to defeat this really tough boss, and have to, like, you could spend like, it's for me, it's about wasted time. It's like it's the time to get up to that. If I could save right before, and I could like, jump around areas and get right back to where that boss is, instead of having to fight through to get to the boss and then die. Like it's just it's so much, it just feels like I wasted so much time like getting to that point. That's what really frustrates me. It's just the time lost, as opposed to just being able to get there and do that fight.
Yeah, that's fair.
I agree with you, Mike, in terms of it also does feel good to get better at these games.
Mhm.
But I think for me, I just get confused at like the overwhelming praise, like the 10s out of 10s, like universal 10 out of 10. And I'm
Mm.
playing it and I'm like, I get why this is good. I feel like gaming communities, like because people love these games so much, it's really skewed to where I'm told these are like the best games ever made. And when I play them, I'm like, I really appreciate the good stuff it does well. But in terms of an open world game, I find it so hard to get invested, even more than like Dark Souls 2, which I quite enjoyed.
Mhm.
Elden Ring, I have no connection to that world at all. It looks cool, like someone's fucking like nightmare or something. But even like David, you're playing Dragon's Dogma. That does a similar thing where it's very vague in terms of I don't really know what like where did the elves come from? Where did these like animal things come from? What is the history of this world? But like it gives me enough where I'm invested. With Elden Ring, talking to someone who's got a Welsh accent, so it sounds kind of cool, but they're speaking gibberish all the time. It's like, to me, I'm like, I have no affinity for this world at all. And I find it so hard to get invested. So, like with David, we did the same thing. When you hit that 20-hour mark and you're getting your ass beat, it's not like I want to understand the lore better, so I'll keep playing.
Mm.
It's like, well, I'm just done. And that's the thing with Jedi, which I appreciate as like a kind of Dark Souls clone, is I love the world so much. The story's good. There's loads of other stuff to do, and yeah, you spawn right before the boss as well, and there's difficulty options.
Mhm.
So if I'm really, really stuck, I can just bump that down. So that's why with Elden Ring, like, and my spicy take for 2022, and David agrees with me, Sonic Frontiers is better than Elden Ring.
Don't bring me into this.
Whoa, that is a hot take.
I want to be clear about my position here. I platinumed Sonic Frontiers because I really enjoyed that open world. For me, it was like the perfect podcast game. I put like a podcast on, and I could explore the open world, and it was really fun. Just like do the collectibles, and like it was the only 3D Sonic game that I've actually enjoyed. The other ones, I think they're all, for me, they're overrated. I've
Not
never
even Sonic
enjoyed.
Adventure.
No, they've never done anything for me.
God.
And to be fair, even the 2D Sonic games, I think Sonic generally is a very overrated franchise. But that's my don't hate me. That's just my opinion. It's overrated for me. I've never enjoyed them. But Sonic Frontiers was really just it also helped that I went into it expecting like a really shitty game because everything I read about it was like, oh, this game is terrible. I think one outlet gave it like a 1 out of 10 or something. I'm like, I want to see what this is. It went on sale, so I'm like, I'm just gonna grab this, see what it's about. And I was just surprised that I'm actually having fun. This is fun. this is a good time. But
he
I'm
put
trying
it
to think
higher
how
on
many-
his game of the year list than Elden Ring in 2022. So that's why I know he agrees with me.
Oh well, again, but when you judge a game, though, I think you have to be able to separate the quality of the game versus your enjoyment of it. Like there are many games that I respect that maybe aren't for me, but I can respect that they're quality pieces that a lot of work went into them, and they're just not for me, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be able to separate like what I'm enjoying, which Sonic Frontiers, let's be clear, it's a 7 out of 10 game, but I platinum that game and I really enjoyed it, but it's a 7 out of 10. It's not like that isn't a 10 out of 10 game. there's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of issues with camera in places, and some of the controls are weird at times. But it's still, I had a good time, but it's still not a great game. It's just a good game.
Before I just give my little take on it, the most important question: what was your reaction to the first boss battle? The tonal shift in that game for the first boss. Do you remember it? So you're running around this like very nice, kind of looks like the Scottish Highlands. It's all raining. You come across this big robot, it looks very menacing, and then out of nowhere, the craziest fucking rock music. Do you remember it plays and like Sonic turns yellow, like golden, and the tone of the game. That's why I love it so much. When I played that, I was laughing because I was like, "Holy shit!"
Oh,
like,
I was definitely. I think I was laughing too.
Yeah, but it went from like Mike, if I can describe it, it went from like peaceful, rainy. Think of like maybe like kind of Skyrim influence music, and it feels like very chill and like this world. And then suddenly Sonic turns into like Super Saiyan, and you're fighting some giant mech, and the music, like you could probably even play it now, but it's just so fucking insane. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? And then that extends to like the levels where it's like dubstep, and then it's like there's like lo-fi music playing with the fishing mini game. It's like it's all over the place, but I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. Like I'm getting surprised every time, and I'm like, is this a joke I'm not in on? Because Sonic is just takes itself so seriously as well. So I was like, holy shit! I like with David, I hadn't played Sonic in a while or think it's anything good, but this game just like surprised me so hard.
That was something that a lot of reviewers actually criticized the game for, was that the world felt disconnected from the actual game itself. Like as
Yeah,
you
it was
describe, at
very
times
bizarre.
it's just like this like lo-fi, like quiet, rainy, experience, and just these beautiful rolling hills, and then it's like, like
Yeah.
what's going on? Like
I mean, yeah,
it's bizarre. Like that, I've seen people say that they would have liked Frontiers better if it took more inspiration from the the visual design of the levels in 2D Sonic games, or just previous 3D Sonic games, where
yeah,
there was more cohesion there. But I do kind of agree with you, where it adds to the charm, almost, where it's just
yeah,
so weird that's
Mm.
part of why I enjoyed it. Is that it's not that, it's that it really is this like
yeah.
very two different things combining into one.
It's like many different things. Even like the little mini games you keep getting added. Like I'm like, what the fuck am I doing now? But that's why I enjoyed it so much, and that's why I preferred it to Elden Ring, because it surprised me so much. Where with Elden Ring, I will admit, like you're saying, I appreciate Elden Ring for being a good game, like for sure. I'm not saying it's a bad game at all, but I just don't get the level of hype for these games, and
Mm.
I think it reminds me of Taylor Swift, and I think there's a hysterical praise for it, which
I
which
hear a
just
Kavernacle
becomes.
video. You got this idea brewing in your head.
I've actually said this to Baldur's Gate 3 as well before. I think that just gets a hysterical level of hype that people feel like you like. I've had so many arguments with people, like they get very heated that I say, oh, for me, Elden Ring's like a 7 out of 10, and they're just like they can't believe it because the combat is good, and that's the freedom is good. But Mike, as
Mm.
someone who loves Elden Ring, like, you can have the definitive answer. Is Elden Ring, I'm not saying overrated in terms of, do people say it's good when it's bad? Do you think people praise it way too much compared to like what it is my main question, especially when
Mm.
it's decided to go for an open world. And I just don't think the game warrants an open world more than just, oh, it's fun to go places. But I think it doesn't actually use the open world in actually a good way. I just think it's just a massive like Dark Souls level. So yeah,
Mm.
you give the take. Is Elden Ring actually overrated? Is it like the best game ever made? Like everyone's telling me.
So I'm the worst person to ask because I'm so biased. I would say this is my argument. I would argue that it's properly hyped. I think it's
Okay.
sufficiently hyped because to me, after playing all the other ones, this is like peak Dark Souls. Like it's everything that you want, where there's so much variety, there's so many different weapons, so many builds that you can do. And I think the open world is kind of what makes it good, in the sense that for the first time it's more accessible to other people, even though sure you'll run off and you'll get clapped by something. You can come back later on.
Yeah.
Whereas with Dark Souls 1 through 3, you kind of are going on this linear path. I mean, the world in Dark Souls 1 is all interconnected, but like still you're kind of going on this one path and there's one place to go. And if you can't beat the boss, you can't beat the boss. You've got to keep trying. And the same is true for like Sekiro and whatnot. So in my opinion, it's properly hyped. Having said that though, I understand why people who think it's overhyped say that. Because if you're not like it, you either get it or you don't, right? It's
Yeah.
like certain type of genres. Like I don't get RTSs, I don't get strategy games. So to me it doesn't make sense. But like if they made like the best RTS and all the RTS fans were like, oh, this is the best. That's kind of like the Elden Ring. That's a very terrible comparison, but like that's my opinion. Where it's like
Yeah, I get it.
it's quintessential Dark Souls. Like it's everything that I
Mhm.
wanted,
Yeah.
and it's hard to know like how they can go up from this. Just because I really enjoy the open world aspect, and you're right, story like it's all gibberish. Like people pretend like they know what the fuck is going on. Nobody knows what's going on. The side quests are
Yeah.
so obscure. Nobody's solving that unless they're looking it up on YouTube. Let's be real. At least that's the
Exactly.
case.
Yeah.
That's the case for me, right? Like I was doing this mission so I could reach a certain area so I could farm. And it's like, okay, I had to go and talk to this guy. His name is Ver or Var. And then I have to invade the world of another player 3 times. Then he gives me a cloth. Then I have to soak that cloth in blood. Doesn't tell you shit about any of this. It's like, well, what the fuck am I supposed? Where am I supposed to go? Right. So it
Yeah.
is completely gibberish, but it's fun in the sense that like you just kind of explore and turn off your brain and see where that takes you. Sometimes you find something really cool, like a new weapon in a cave. Other times you're gonna get completely shut down by some big beast where you're like, oh, let me try to fight him, and then you just get slam down. I will
Yeah.
say, when it comes to Sonic Frontiers, that was my like Dark Souls experience in the sense that I stopped after a while when I hit a wall. And I'm actually, my response to Sonic games is I feel like a scorned lover. I used to be the biggest Sonic fan ever. Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2, like those are my childhood. But
and then came
with
Shadow
time,
the Hedgehog with swearing and guns. And...
yeah. I remember. I actually have that on GameCube still to this day. I don't know if I ever played it though, to be honest.
I rented it from Blockbuster and then just 1
I
weekend.
bought it from Blockbuster. I think I got my employee discount, and that's why I bought it, but I never picked it up. But like in Sonic Frontiers, I don't know if I got like the first official boss, but I reached this dude that's like super tall, and when you're running up its leg, like the camera switches when you have to attack.
yeah.
And you never did that.
Every time it fucks me up. I'm like, what is this game? Why is the camera not locking up?
I totally get people not playing past that point, because that's one of the issues with the game. Like, there's just some weird like camera flips, and you're like, I remember there was a second or third or one of the bosses. I kept dying on this part where the camera would just get into a weird place where I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I was getting verbally angry. Like, I was like yelling at the TV, like, what is even happening right now? Like, I was saying that out loud because I could not believe how effed up this whole stage was.
Thank you.
But I eventually got I got through it. Like, I got to a point in that game where I'm like, I'm so close to this platinum. I'm gonna get it because it's so close. I just want to get this. Platinum.
Yeah.
I don't normally have that with a lot of games, but like that game, Ghost of Tsushima, which is like one of my favorite games I think of all time. Like, I fucking love that game, and I got the platinum in that. I could not, even after I got the platinum, this is like the only game where I get a platinum and I wanted to keep playing it. Like, that game is like the perfect Assassin's Creed that is better than anything Ubisoft has ever put out. Like,
I think you might you really like Rise of the Ronin. I'm playing it right now, and I like Ghost of Tsushima as well. Before we talk about the Switch stuff, I won't talk about it too much, but because feudal Japan is so done, isn't it? Like, it's the popular place. But Rise of the Ronin's interesting because it's 1858 Japan, so it's just before Japan modernizes into like it bases itself on Prussia and the UK and that's the start of the Japanese Empire basically. But it's really interesting because it's like the death of the samurai and Western intervention and stuff. And in that context, it's interesting contrast to Ghost of Tsushima, but the combat is actually, I think I might prefer it because I don't know if you've seen anything about the game. You have so many different weapons and they all have like insane numbers of like play styles. So, and you can really customize it. So the katana has like 7, but I'm using a musket with a bayonet and it has like 3 different styles to fight with. Like, it's so crazy. And I know you guys, I know Mike likes not Neo, but Neo is like quite clearly similar to Dark Souls. But with this one, the combat is hard, but the difficulty is there. So I think you might like it because it is a Ubisoft clone as well. But I think some of the side activities might be better. And you have that like multiplayer element as well. So you can co-op for the missions if you want with just random people. You have like, it's called like a pilgrim dog. So you give dog some money. Like, what's that Japanese dog? The famous one. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Doge. I can't remember the name.
It's that kind of dog. But you tie some money around it and you send it off for a pilgrimage. And around the world, you see other people's dogs and you can pet them for little rewards. And then the dog comes back bringing you loads of stuff. You can give it like loads of money if you want. I always do that. And then you just see like people's Ronins like walking around the world. It's obviously not them, but like it gives this. That's what I like about Dark Souls, the interconnectivity of the community. And I feel like Ronin does that really well. I think I'd give it a try if it's on sale or something. I bought it recently on sale, but I'm really surprised at how much I like it. The only bad thing is the graphics. People have heard about this. It's not great, and Ghost of Tsushima looks so good. I haven't played the PS5 version.
The atmosphere, everything about Ghost of Tsushima just looks really, really good. Like, for me, it's I don't want to play a game and wish I was playing Ghost of Tsushima. Like, that's kind of the worry I have with the new Assassin's Creed coming out. Like, that's set in Japan. Like, it looks like I'll probably enjoy it, but am I going to enjoy it more than Ghost of Tsushima? Like, it's so
yeah. I felt that as well with Ronin when I started. But then I was like, I appreciate this for the different things, and I prefer the combat in this compared to Ghost of Tsushima, which I do like a lot as well. I get it with Assassin's Creed. The one thing I'll say with Ghost of Tsushima, the immersion in the world, I didn't think was great because I think the NPC cycles are not anything special, where Assassin's Creed, where it really excels is having just like a crazy amount of NPC cycles. I
yeah.
remember in the London one, there's 3 different animations or like little animation things for children playing football. And I'm like, there's no other like series that has that attention up. There's one they're playing against the wall, there's one they're playing in their garden, and there's one they're doing keepy uppies. And I'm like, most people are not going to notice that. And it's in there. Where Ghost of Tsushima is very static in terms of you don't feel like people actually live in this world. So that's when I was watching that gameplay of, yeah, I get your concerns because the combat is better in Tsushima, and I think it always will be. But the immersion for me looks a lot better in Assassin's Creed. Just the number of people around. Maybe talk about that another time or later. Should we just switch up to the Nintendo stuff now? We talk about our favorite games. Did you watch it, Mike, or did you?
I watched it right before I jumped on, and yeah, it's fresh in my memory.
Yeah, so
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I was going to say what stood out.
I'm disappointed because the one thing that I was hoping for that has been rumored for like 25 years by now, I'm being hyperbolic, is the double pack of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I want those fucking games on the Switch. And
Wind Waker I want really bad.
Yeah, that's the one I really want. Yeah, and so they didn't announce that, but you know, there was some good stuff there. There's a new 2D Zelda game. Well, it's it's like the Link's Awakening. There's also a new Mario and Luigi game. I know people are going to be really hyped for Metroid Prime. Yeah, that did look good. I'm not a big Metroid guy. I play them, but I think those are kind of overhyped in my opinion. I think they're fun for what they are, but I'm just not like huge into Metroidvanias. But it was better than I expected, honestly, because it's like the Switch it's dying. So what else are they going to put out on it? And the
remake looked really nice of Metroid Prime 1 on the Switch. Like the graphics were really impressive.
I have that and I still have not played it yet. I've been waiting to play that game.
Yeah,
waiting for the time to play that game.
It's good, but like Mike was saying, I think overhyped's a good word just because with Metroid, especially 1 playing it, the backtracking is insane and it's not really vague as well. Like I was so confused.
You don't know where to
go. And I'm hoping with 4, which I'm happy to skip 2 and 3 and just jump into 4 again. But I'm hoping with 4 they fix that because it's like no guidance. I'm like, where the hell am I going in this game? And
I think it was just like a different. It was just like a different era of gaming. Like I played that game when it first came out on GameCube, and I have a lot of nostalgia for that game. I love the music in that game is incredible, and I don't remember having to look anything up or feeling frustrated about exploring in that game. But things have evolved to a point where I can totally understand it being weird now, like and getting lost and getting confused. But I think that was almost part of its charm back then. It was just going back to re-explore the world and seeing what you can discover and maybe what you missed with your new abilities. And I thought they were going to keep or save the 4 for the next console.
Yeah.
I mean, this one's releasing next year. Yeah, I think it's going to be a dual console release. But I'm actually kind of surprised that it's even releasing on Switch, just because I thought it would be sort of like a tech piece for whatever the new console is, and try and push it as much as possible. But I guess it's going to be dual release. But there's also I mean, I don't know if you guys play RPGs, but Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remaster looks solid, and they also announced 1 and 2 remaster.
The art style looks really
remake,
nice.
I should say.
I love the Octopath games.
Very nice.
Oh yeah.
And I love Dragon Quest, or I loved the 11. I think it was 11, and that was the only Dragon Quest I played. So I'm down for these for sure.
Yeah, I never played 1, 2, or 3, and actually I never really got far into any Dragon Quest game. So I played a lot of the last one. I guess it was 11. And I stopped playing that game when I think it's like 5 hours in. You get to a city, and the music in that game is so fucking terrible. It is the only time I've ever stopped playing a game because of the music. And I swear to God, I didn't know this. I looked up afterwards. So this guy's dead now, the composer. He was apparently a racist. Like, he's like not a good person. So
oh, really?
I felt even better about hating the music. So
that's funny.
It was just so like, it's one thing to have bad music in, like, I don't know, a sports game or something. You can turn it off. But in an RPG, you need to have the music needs to be there. So if I'm turning the music off, there's nothing. It's just it's kind of silence, weird. So I just stopped playing because I could not stand the music. But I'm like, Dragon Quest is like the original JRPG, so I'm really curious just to play those first 3 and kind of see their how they hold up, at least in a remake.
Yeah, no, that looks good.
Yeah, like I'm not massive. Like Pokemon is the only, I guess, technical JRPG I've ever played because I really hate. It's weird. I don't hate strategy games. Like I love Advance Wars, but I hate like turn-based combat generally. I think because I've been brainwashed by Pokemon, thinking like it's just a Pokemon thing. Like, so I don't really want to play like even that Mario and Luigi. I'm like, do I really want to play this? I don't know. It's just something I definitely need to get into because I was thinking today. I play so many Japanese games now, not on purpose, but just like by everything good seems to be made by Japanese studios these days. But then I'm just like looking at these JRPGs. I'm like, that art style looks so nice. I'm like, I bet it's a sick game. But I just don't. I don't know. I'm so bad at committing to new genres.
I used to be just like you, and then I played Persona 5. I didn't really get into JRPGs till Persona 5, which came out, like, what, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
So I would say if you haven't played Persona 5, play Persona 5. I feel like that's a really good in. And Atlas games generally, like for me, my favorite RPGs are Atlas games. So Shin Megami Tensei, Persona 5, Soul Hackers 2, I really enjoyed. I thought that game was super underrated. I mean, there's a bunch of others, but I really enjoy how they do the combat systems, and I also enjoy the worlds and the art of those games. I've only really Final Fantasy. I think I've only beaten Remake and what else did I? Oh, and the new one that came out last year, 16, which is not a turn-based game. But yeah, I don't know. There are definitely like it makes me question, are there other genres that I don't really expose myself to? Like RTS games I don't really play. That I feel like if I played the right one, I would probably get into them. It's just a matter of like managing time at this point. Like I feel like there are more games than ever that are really, really good, and got to throw indie games into that. Like there's a ton of indie games I want to play as well. I don't want to expose myself to like a whole new genre now that I don't have the time to play.
I've sort of done that with Advance Wars because I'd never played it, and I found my old 3DS, and I was like, it was really broken, but I fixed it, and I was like buying that cartridge. It's like all the DS games in like one thing. I started playing Advance Wars, like the spin-off. It's like a darker, like post-apocalyptic one, and I thought it was so good. And then I bought the remaster on the Switch, and I'm like, now I'm like a big Advance Wars fan, and I was like, I hate strategy games normally, like really do hate them. And it's like, now have I been ignorant my whole life? Because I've
check out Fire Emblem.
Yeah, people say because it's people who love. Is it the same company that makes both of them? Well, very similar games.
Well, they're both Nintendo, but I believe they're different developers. But Fire Emblem is similar in that tactical, like turn-based. Like I love tactical turn-based games as well. Like Triangle Strategy, that's a newer one. I would check that out. Very, very good.
Yeah, but then it's like you're saying, I never get the complaint people who say there's nothing to play, or like PS5 is so bad for games. I'm like, what are you doing? Like I've got stuff I want to play in my head. I got stuff I want to replay. Like it's the Phantom Pain's 9th anniversary. If you've played Phantom Pain, you know that's a big deal. Always talking about 9 years in the game because you're in a coma for 9 years, and I'm like, I need to play Phantom Pain again. Then it's like I want to finish my 3rd Cyberpunk playthrough. All these games coming out, like obviously Star Wars, and then Assassin's Creed. I'm like, I'm not gonna have time to play all these. So moaning about like there's not enough to play, or this generation
so much.
There's so much.
There's so much, and games don't die anymore. This is something I love, and maybe we can transition into what I wanted to talk to you to about today. Games don't die, and it's crazy that Witcher 3 can get an update 7 years later with new content. Like that, it just blows my mind. Like even Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like 4 years later, was getting like a brand new DLC set in like Corfu, like a whole new territory. And like it's so bizarre now where games used to die within the year. Like I remember Bad Company 2 came out March 2010. Bad Company 2 Vietnam, its big DLC released in, I think, like September 2010. And then they released Battlefield 3 in 2011, less than a year after the DLC. Like it killed the game. I remember because I loved it. It killed the game. And now I'm playing games where like Rocket League's going to be 10 years old next year. And I've been playing that since it came out. And I'm like, it's such a crazy time to live in now, where it's like games just don't die. You can get an update for a game, like even that Mario game, Bowser's Fury. It's like that game came out like 8 years before the DLC. It's so mad to me, and that's what I, as people who are a bit older than me. So I messaged David this before we started. We'll start with you, Mike. In terms of like understanding like your gaming history, what would you say is like your most maybe like what's the first game you remember? But what's the most formative years of you as a gamer? I'd say like probably focusing on being a teenager or something. Because I'm really interested. Like I said, because I'm in that generation. They call it Zillennial because it's literally border of Gen Z and Millennial. And it's really
Oh,
bizarre
interesting.
because I remember, my first console was Game Boy Color, PS1. Like I remember people with like Dreamcast and stuff like that. But then when I became like a hardcore gamer, I was like, playing maybe the first Xbox at the end of its life, Xbox 360, PS3 and stuff. So that's why I'm interested, like people who actually remember like growing up on like the original Xbox or the PS2 and stuff. So yeah, so maybe like what was the first game you like really got into, and like what was like the formative like gamer culture like you were in maybe when you were a bit younger?
Oh, so it was probably when I was like 4. Uh, the first Mario Brothers on the NES was my very
Wow.
first gaming experience. At that point in time, it was a little bit old. The first game that I ever played was something on Atari, because my sister's boyfriend at the time, he worked at the dump, and he would find amazing stuff. Like he brought me the entire Ninja Turtles toy collection, and he brought
Yeah.
an Atari with like 50 games. So that was like my first, what's this? So I started playing that, really liked it, don't really remember a lot. But then he brought home an NES with Super Mario, or just Mario Brothers. And that was like my very, very first gaming experience. As a 4-year old, I played it every single day as long as I could. I beat it. I can't beat that shit now, but when I was like 4 or 5, I played the hell out of that. And then yeah, the Super Nintendo was already out. So by the time I was in first grade, I was like 6 or 7. Then since I liked that one, my parents got me my first like new console, and that was the Super Nintendo with Super Mario Brothers. So I really got into platformers at first. I never really played RPGs or anything like that. I did play some fighting games. It depends on like what my sister's boyfriend would bring home from the dump, right? If he found like a new game, it's like, hey, I found like people throw this shit away. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
That's
the dump is a.
crazy.
I saw. I went to the dump
Yeah,
maybe a year ago. I saw an original PS3, which I knew played PS2 games.
right.
So I'm like, holy shit! Like, if obviously the people at the dump have like dibs on that, but I would love to just grab that and take it home, because I'm like, this can literally like the first gen PS3 could play PS2, and I'm like, and it's just sitting there, perfect condition at the dump, because probably someone thinks it's a load of garbage. So
Yep.
like, I do get it.
I
It's
got one of
crazy
those in
what
my
you could
closet.
find dumpster diving.
I wish I
Oh,
had
that's
one.
nice. I had that one, but it died, and so I was still under warranty. So I sent it to Sony, and they sent me the newer slim one without the backwards compatibility.
Oh.
I was like, "Oh, are you
Can they
kidding
just do
me?"
that to you? Like, all right, we're gonna take your old one with all these features, and here's the new one.
It,
They
it
think you're doing
and
they're doing you a favor, but in reality, they're just like fucking you over.
yeah, it's so messed up. But in terms of like my gaming experience, I feel like I got the complete experience. Like I got the experience of an 80s kid because I was poor, but I grew up in the 90s and just kind of graduated to each console, and by the time, the Nintendo 64 came out, I was in like 3rd grade, but I got it in 5th grade. And so I kind of evolved naturally with consoles. And, seeing Mario 64 for the first time was like mind blowing. I saw it at a friend's house. So yeah, I kind of feel like I had a pretty standard 80s kid experience as a 90s kid, just kind of seeing the evolution of games. I didn't really get to play much in arcades. I would go to arcades a lot, but in the 90s there weren't as many, but they still were there. But I remember seeing like a racing game. I can't remember which racing game, but just maybe it was Cruising USA. I'm not sure.
I
But
was literally gonna say Cruising USA because I remember
was it
that being that's
that
that's
might
what
be
I
the
would
one I
play
was
at
thinking
arcade.
of.
I was
But I
gonna say
remember the graphics were
Daytona
mind
Rally.
blowing.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but and just the Mario 64 one is really interesting to me, because you know what blew my mind as a kid? The graphics. My friend brought a DS back from America before it came out in the UK, and he showed me Mario 64. Blew my mind. Like it literally like
Yeah.
shattered my brain that a handheld could have that. And I was like harassing my dad so bad. I think must have been just before my communion, which if people aren't religious, you get a bunch of money for communion in the Catholic
Mm.
faith. So I was like, okay, my communion money, that is buying me a DS. And then I literally could only afford a DS. So thankfully my dad came in and he bought me Rayman 2 3D and Mario 64 as a bonus, because he's like, we got to play something on it, don't you? And I was just like, yeah, blue. I when you're a kid like that, those graphics. But to be fair, I played it again recently. It looks great still, but like when you're a kid, it's like, holy shit, like what am I even looking at right now? But also, did you have any experience with online gaming? Like maybe when you're a bit maybe like older teenager and stuff?
Oh yeah. So I was always kind of into single player games and didn't really play competitively. But finally, when I like got a debit card and could buy Xbox Live, it was like a couple of years established and Halo 2 was out, so it was like peak. And I heard so much about it, like everyone was, "Oh my god, it's the best thing ever." And so I played a little bit of it. I think the only experience I got was like a 1 month free trial of Xbox Live. Um, and yeah, it was incredible to just talk to people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I think I was just a dick. I would get into arguments every single time I would play. I think I was being annoying, if I'm remembering correctly, and I was just like shit talking. But I was getting my ass beat, so I had no reason to shit talk. But it was just so cool to like be able to play the game with other people, and that was kind of like a mind blowing experience. Like, oh my god, like I'm actually playing with other Halo players, and they're
Yeah.
really good. And oh, I just randomly got sniped. And so I unfortunately I didn't keep the online because I just couldn't afford it. But I still played games and whatnot, but like I think because I wasn't really a part of it, it never clicked for me. I never went back to it. And I do play some competitive games once in a while. By competitive, I mean like I played Fall Guys. I put like 250 hours into that game randomly. Completely irrational.
250 hours. Holy shit.
So I don't know. It was a COVID game, so it came out in
Okay,
2020.
yeah.
So I played a lot of that. Also, I would, I think I'm just like a bad person to play online. I can't help myself. Like I would get drunk and play Fall Guys and just like fuck with people and push people off and not even care about winning. So I'm one of those people. And I would try
You're
to
the person I
stream
hate
snipe.
online.
Yeah, I would stream snipe people that were streaming, find them,
Oh man.
and I would like try to knock them off. I did it to Vosh actually. Like I was playing Fall Guys and I cycled through and I saw he was playing Fall Guys and I got it was random. Like I got into the same level as him and I tried to push him off and I almost killed him. I didn't though.
Wow.
But like that's the kind of player I am online. So I'm not meant to play online. I'm just like
Yeah.
not a good. I'm not good with. I
I
don't
think
play well
maybe
with
you're
other
not meant to
people.
drink. I think you can play
Yeah.
That's part of
online.
it.
Just don't
Have
drink.
you
and play
have you seen
That's
Westworld
probably part
season?
of it.
Have you seen Westworld on HBO season 1?
I
saw
did. It's
season
been a
1.
while though.
You would be like all the people who go to Westworld and are just terrible to like the robots and like do all the terrible shit because it was actually inspired by Red Dead Redemption 1, where like this image of like what would you do when no one's looking, basically, or like there's no rules. So in Red Dead, people would tie people up and put them on the train tracks, let the train run over them. It's like I can do that. So that's what when you were saying that, I was thinking like this reminds me of Westworld and like how we treat like NPCs in video games, but you're doing it to real people.
I don't know what it is. Like I have to fuck with people. Like if team kills are on, I have to kill someone in my team. It's
Oh
just
my
funny.
God.
Like,
I didn't know you were like this. You are explaining the mentality of every troll that exists. Like the only reason you're not like this on YouTube is because you use your real name and your real face. But if you were like hiding behind an avatar and you were hiding behind like not your real name, you would be somebody who'd be like trolling everybody on Twitter. Like
no, it's only. I think it's only because it's like a video game. So it's
like, oh, it's for fun.
There's something about it where it's like there's this disconnect where it's like if there's other people there, then like I have to be creative. Like Little Big Planet is another game that I played that was online, and I would like create this character. Like there was peacock feathers that you could put onto your character. So I put like 100 on my character and it took up the whole screen. So I'd like, go into this online game and nobody could see shit. And I'm just laughing hysterically. Like it's just
That's
stupid as
legitimately
fuck. It's just so dumb. Like the worst kind of person to play game. But I play single player mostly. So,
Mike, that is so crazy. I think we should have swapped ages because you would have loved like late 2000s online multiplayer like Halo 3, Modern Warfare 2, because so many my brother was like you. He would just kill me online for no reason and think it's like the most funny. Like we play Red Dead 1, the lobbies, and we'd always like team up against like just random people because you'd have like this lobby which was the whole map for multiplayer. We'd go around killing people, then we'd team up, we'd be being chased by people. Then he'd just say something to me down the mic, he'd like shoot me in the head or something, and he'd find it like the most funny thing. And I'd feel so like betrayed. I'm like, I would never betray you. It's us against all the other players, but you'll just shoot me in the head for fun. Like I like
yeah.
People, my friends would do that as well. We play GTA 4 and we'd do like a multiplayer lobby similar, but he'd all like 6 of us. And I'd be like, yeah, like one of my best friends. I was like, yeah, we'll get them. And then he'll just turn around, blow me up with rocket launch. I'm like, I just feel like if you were doing that to me, I just feel so hurt. It makes me so mad. It's like I'll chase you forever and I'll keep killing you until I've gotten the frustration out of it, because I would never do it first.
In my defense, now I couldn't fathom doing that. Now I don't play online because there's so much pressure to perform, where it's like, okay, if I'm doing 5v5, like I don't want to be the weakest link. Like I want to actually
this is some dark Brandon shit. Like you're like nice on YouTube, nice leftist, but when you go on a video game, you're fucking dark Brandon, like betraying
the red eyes come out.
You don't want to know what I do in Grand Theft Auto. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to have a nice time driving around, and just someone fucking shoots me with a tank or something. Like that's you. That's you for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like it's so bad. I thank goodness I was too poor to afford the monthly like Xbox Live thing, because like that would just ruin people's fun. When I think back to it now, it's like that was so mean and immature. Because people are just trying to play.
It is funny, but
look,
like,
it's coming back to me tenfold, because I'll be playing Elden Ring and some dickhead will invade me and kill me. I'm like, God damn it! Like I'm trying to do something.
I hate that shit. Why is that a feature?
You could turn it off though, and I did.
Yeah, I did turn it off after it happened to me. I'm like, fuck this.
That's what it is. I always remember like, oh yeah, I need to turn this off. So you know.
So David, like, hopefully you weren't the troll of like early 2000s online games like Mike, but like it's a similar question. So like, what was like the first game and the formative like games, and maybe if you've played online, were you like just a massive troll playing crap and just team killing?
Definitely not. First game that I really remember. So I'm sure I played a game before this at like a cousin's house or something, but I remember getting the Super Nintendo for my birthday. It's probably like 92 or maybe 91. And I got Super Mario World and Super Mario Kart. And Mario Kart for me was really like I like Mario World too, but Mario Kart was the one that I remember beating. Like I remember like as a kid beating that game and feeling really happy and accomplished. And I actually remember going to my dad and be like, "Hey dad, I beat this game. I beat Super Mario Kart." So that was like my first game that I remember. When it comes to like formative years, probably N64. Like so I actually got there's like a big gap in my memory from like Super Nintendo to like PS1 N64 era, but I got a PS1 probably in like 98, I think. And then I ended up trading it in at Walmart, because Walmart, you could fucking do this back then. You could bring in like a used console and be like, I want the other one. So and this sounds crazy to me now because there are so many amazing PS1 games, but for whatever reason, it was GoldenEye. Like I played GoldenEye at my cousin's house. I'm like, I want to play GoldenEye. So I traded in the PS1 at Walmart. Open box. This thing was open for like, I don't know, I had it for like a year. And they just took it back. And I'm not even sure, to be fair, or to be honest, I'm not even sure I got the console at Walmart. They just, I don't know. Do they still do this? They just take anything. You can return anything to Walmart at the time. So I
worked there in 2014, and they did not do that. Okay. I worked in electronics. That was not a thing for us.
Back in the late 90s, you could return anything to Walmart. So I returned the PS1 that probably wasn't even bought there, and I got an N64 and GoldenEye, and fucking love GoldenEye. So yeah, GoldenEye, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario World, but it was really GoldenEye and especially Perfect Dark. For me, Perfect Dark is like a big nostalgia game for me, and that I don't know what it is about the atmosphere, the music. It was the one game that I remember back then, really like the first game I remember really getting hyped for, like really excited that this was coming out. I'm going to play this when it comes out, and that came out in '99, I believe, right before, or maybe it was 2000.
Right before as well, didn't they? On this direct.
Yeah, they're adding online play to it. Actually, I'm going to do that. Maybe we should all play online. That'd be fun. So Perfect Dark for me was a big one, and that's also part of the reason why I'm so excited for the new one that looks. I mean, it's probably like a tech demo at this point, but the one they showed up for Xbox Series last week.
Yeah,
it looks really good. Sorry.
It did look okay. Like I was surprised because it's been in development hell. Hopefully it wasn't just like a like a little tech demo, but it did look fun.
It probably is like a vertical slice, and that game probably not coming out for like a couple of years. But if they execute what they showed, I think that looks really good. And when it comes to online play, I was a big SOCOM guy played a lot of SOCOM 1, especially a lot of SOCOM 2,
PS2 or
and then
PS3?
that's on PS2. And then
Yeah.
they killed SOCOM with PS3 or with SOCOM 3 when they added vehicles and made the maps, but they fucking ruined the game. But the first two SOCOM games where it was 8v8, the maps were so like I have a video actually playing SOCOM 2 online recently because you can still play that game online if you do. There's like some hack you can do to your PS2, but
Oh,
you can play it
shit.
off the console or through an emulator. You can still play it online.
That's
So
so
I'll
cool.
yeah, I'll still do that. Like, you know, there'll be a weekend. People are always online. At least 8 people are online or 16 for a match. It's crazy that like 20 years later they're still playing the game. But so I played a lot of SOCOM 1 and 2, and that was really so my first trying to think, my first exposure to voice chat, I think was at a cousin's house like for Christmas because he got Xbox and Xbox Live. But SOCOM 1 actually in the online actually came out before Xbox Live hit the Xbox. Because when Xbox first hit, the online play wasn't there yet, and they added Xbox Live a year later. So I think it came out like a few months after SOCOM 1. SOCOM 1 released, I believe, in August. And my brother got it. I had no plan to play it. Like I wasn't the idea of playing an online shooter didn't appeal to me at all. But he played it and I checked it out and I actually really enjoyed it. So then I started playing it more than he did. And then he got angry at me because I kept playing his game. But then yeah, I don't know. I have so much nostalgia for SOCOM 1 and 2, and Sony just killed that franchise completely. They'll
I
I,
know. It's depressing how some stuff like that just gets left in the past. Did you play the
yeah.
PSP one? I thought they were okay.
No.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, it was just a different thing for me. Like I'm very so I actually people don't know this about me. Maybe they do. I actually ran a SOCOM fan site like back in the day. Like
Oh, nice.
Oh wow.
to the point so yeah, to the point where when they released or when they announced SOCOM 4 on PS3, Sony flew out like a bunch of like SOCOM fans, including me, to Seattle to check out SOCOM 4. And that was a fucking awesome experience just to like be flown out like that. And so, you know, the SOCOM 4 was fine, but it's still no one's ever they've never really been able to recapture the magic that SOCOM 1 and 2 were. And it's hard to even like even if they were to remaster that game, I'm sure I would love it, but I don't think like shooters have evolved so far past where SOCOM 1 and 2 are that I don't think people that didn't experience those games back then could really enjoy them now. But the
Yeah.
part that more shooters I think need to really look at and take note of is just the fact that maps in those first two games were designed around a single mode, and that really led to I think the how timeless those maps are because a lot of maps now are kind of designed for any mode and they kind of have to be all things to everyone. But if you design a map around a single mode, you really the way the designers work, and I mean, it's geared towards working around that single mode, and it's just I don't know. I think that's an element that is kind of lost in a lot of shooters now.
Yeah, those games, it's sad. Like I'll talk about myself in a bit before we'll finish it with you first. But like Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2 on the Xbox 360, Brothers in Arms, Rainbow Six Vegas, those games just don't exist anymore. Tactical first person shooters, or in Ghost Recon's case, third person. And now, like you're saying, SOCOM's dead, but Ghost Recon for me, I'm looking at it now. I'm like, I've played them and they're fine, but I'm like, I want the tactical third person shooter like SOCOM style with
Yeah,
the old Ghost Recon. I'm like, that's dead. Like there is nothing like Rainbow Six and Brothers in Arms, another one, Gearbox game, which has just been dead for years,
yeah,
which was like cover shooter tactical. And I'm like, that genre is dead. And SOCOM, I guess, is a bit different, but I'd say it's adjacent to those games. And
yeah.
that like hardcore tactical military shooter just doesn't exist anymore.
If someone came back and like, I think you're right. I think the market is ripe for that. Like, it's weird to think there are so many games out and there's so much to play, but that specific genre in the shooter category really has not been tapped, at least recently. And so there is some single player. I know there's like a new. I forget if it's called SWAT, but I know there's a game that's like a SWAT game, but it's a single player
Yeah.
game. But games that are tactical and online, I feel like that has sort of been lost. And I think the Rainbow Six still exists. I know I don't play it, but I know it's out there. I don't know if that's good.
Because I did games journalism at uni for our paper. I got a review copy from Ubisoft. I gave it like a 2 because it was unfinished to start with, but it was like it was such a slap in the face for people who love the series
multiplayer. This is 2015, remember? Multiplayer only, bare bones game with barely anything going for it. Hero shooter, essentially. I'm like, this isn't Rainbow Six, and they cancelled one called Rainbow Six Patriots, which looks sick. It was like about this like kind of like Metal Gear 2 style terrorist group taking over America, and it looked really fucking cool. And it's just like you're saying, like, but you have Insurgency Sandstorm, which is very hardcore. I don't know if you've checked that out. It's like a very hardcore.
I haven't played it.
Like, it's first person shooter. It's really hardcore. Like in terms of you'll die in one shot from a pistol and stuff. I enjoy that to an extent, but then there's that. Something I don't want, like a military sim. Like I did like Operation Flashpoint on the console, but like I don't want it that hardcore where I'm running around for 40 minutes, get shot by someone I haven't seen, and that's my level done, and then I've got restart. I don't want that. But yeah, there's a gap in the market for something definitely like that. I think it's also the death of there's no competitor Call of Duty that will offer you single and multiplayer these days. That's kind of like, remember everything used to be multiplayer. Even BioShock 2 had multiplayer. But nowadays, it's either you choose one or the other, apart from if you're Call of Duty where you can do everything. But even sometimes COD just goes for the multiplayer. So I get it. But also just on the shooter thing, were you in the shooter culture at all with like the Xbox 360, PS3 generation?
Like in the culture, like in what way?
Would you just like be sitting and playing fucking like COD 4 all night or something?
No, I've always enjoyed basically all kind. Like I was really into platformers back during those generations. Like the PS2 era for me was, sure, I played like a lot of SOCOM online, but apart from that, I was really into like Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Daxter, Sly Cooper. Like I really enjoyed those character platformers,
the mascot platformers.
Yeah, and like I got, of course, I got COD 4 when it came out, and I liked it. But I've always been more of a third person guy generally. Like I would love a solid tactical third person shooter as opposed to like there's enough first person. Like Call of Duty has it down. Let's try something else. It's kind of bizarre to me. There aren't more actually. So the Division always looked interesting to me. I played like a bit of it. I never really got into it, but I feel like that's. I like what they're trying to do with that sort of a live service, different kind of third person shooter. But
I do like them, but it's more like the looter shooter thing makes it too unrealistic, where bullet sponges and stuff. But the movement's fun. Like it's like a Splinter Cell, Watch Dogs, Division is all like very similar cover system, which is a throwback to basically like Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six and stuff. So there is some elements of that, like the bones there, but it's kind of like. It's a dead genre. And I have a friend round who, I guess I'll talk about, like, maybe I'll start with the shooter star. So I have this friend. It was really weird, actually. So you talked about your brother giving you, like, it was your older brother?
Younger.
David. Younger brother. Younger. So you're the oldest?
Yep.
Oh, so you were passing it down. But
so he got, well, he was passing it up, I guess. So he was younger than me. We're actually 6 years apart. It's a pretty big difference. So he got SOCOM when he was like, I don't know, pretty young. I probably shouldn't have been playing SOCOM. And then I got into it.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess talk about overall for me. So my first game I really remember was Pokemon Yellow. And my older brother, he got a Pokemon Yellow and Yellow Game Boy Color for Christmas. And because I'm one of four, I've got two brothers, a sister, it was always like, you bought the console for all the kids. So there's three of us. So then, we had that. Then the next, maybe 2 Christmases after, me and my brother, we got a Game Boy Advance each with Rayman Advance, great games to grow up with. And then I had a younger uncle, because my mum's like one of 10. So we have like old family members and young ones. I think it's weird to think he must have been like my age when he had this, but he would give us his old consoles. So when the PS2 came out, we got the PS1. So then I'd play like, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. It kind of like has always been in my head. Like, I feel like I've never not had play that game. So Crash Bandicoot, and then enjoy the PS1 and I remember getting the GameCube with Wind Waker and Double Dash, but that was my brother who got it, but it's like the family console. But then, like we were saying with the graphics, Wind Waker and Double Dash like blew my mind at the time. I'm like, holy shit, like games have never looked so good. But with the Wind Waker, it still looks good today. Which is really like, because it was so controversial, wasn't it? The art style, but also
I remember the controversy. I remember I was on the IGN message boards back then, and people were freaking the fuck out.
I had the Nintendo magazine. I had all the gaming ones. I got them under my bed. They're like really old ones. I'll just a funny little story. My mum was super strict with violent video games. So there was a copy of the Nintendo magazine when Resident Evil 4 was coming out, exclusive to GameCube.
had the fucking chainsaw guy chainsawing Leon, and my mum went through. She ripped out like all these pages. She was so mad at me for buying it. Like she was such a puritan with violent video games. But anyway, so yeah, I grew up on Nintendo to start with, but because my uncle played all the other stuff, we would get them like handed down to us, and then you'd have that friend. I'll give him a little shout out, Morgan, one of my oldest friends. His parents didn't give a shit what he played. So go around his house, we play Vice City on the PS2, just running around with a katana, like chopping people's heads off. I'm way too young to be playing that. I'm like 8 years old at this point. Like just doing these massacres and not understanding what the fuck's going on. But then so that was like the PS2, and then we got a PS2, and like you're saying, I played all the classics, like Crash games, Jack and Daxter, Jak 2. And my cousin, he always had the newest games, so we'd see them first there, then we'd begging my dad, like, please get us like this game and stuff. And then GameCube, and then what generation are we on now? And then this is the clearest memory I have in my head of being a kid. I must have been 8 years old. I had this friend called Jem who had an older brother, like much older, and he had an Xbox, the original Xbox, and he had Halo 2. Went round and he was hyping me up for it. He's like, oh, this game, like sci-fi, like so good. I played Halo 2 for the first time. It literally like changed my entire world. I was like, holy shit, because I'd never seen a PC game. So Halo 2 is basically a PC game. I'm like, holy shit, this is the best ththing I've ever seen in my life. And we played it all night. Again, too young to be playing Halo 2. I'm like 8 years old. Like the flood like gave me nightmares and stuff. And then I'm telling my brother when I get home because his birthday's coming up, I'm like, oh my God, we got to tell dad we got to get an Xbox. But I think we had to wait a couple years until the 360 came out. We finally got an Xbox secondhand. And I just remember so much. And this is like another thing. I'm sure you guys like feel this as well. Me and my younger brother, we'd stay up all night playing Halo 1 campaign just over and over again, split screen. And it's just like, I'm thinking about that now, but that experience is just like so like lost to people. Like I have so many great memories of being a kid and just playing so much split screen multiplayer. Even like Beyond 2, like my friend would come round who I told you about, he had the DS from his dad in America. We'd play like 3-player Halo multiplayer. We'd invent our own games. There was one called the Sword game. Whoever had the energy sword was against the other two people, and once you killed him, you'd fight to pick it up, and then they'd be against the other two people. And I'm just thinking, like, it's such like an organic thing that you just don't get anymore with how like not a political podcast, but like capitalism kind of like forces people into this little box of like, you will play this way. And then and just on that note, like I always say, I'm so happy I grew up when I did, because then we had like Xbox 360, and talking about online for the first time, we had that for like a year without online. We just played Halo 3 all the time. And then I remember one Christmas, you had to get the adapter on the back of the Xbox, and Xbox Live was 40 quid for a year. So that had to be like another birthday and Christmas to wait for that. And we got it. And I remember playing Call of Duty World at War online and just like talking to people on the headset. And I'm like, it must be so hard to imagine for kids now just to think like talking to people online would like blow your fucking mind. But I was like, holy shit, like I'm telling my parents, like, I'm talking to this guy from America, I'm talking to this guy. They also think I was so annoying, it's probably like 12 years old at this point. But just like every Saturday I'd wake up so early, and me and my little brother would just be playing it. And we did something funny on Halo 3. You could always do split screen online, like one of the few games you could do it on. So one of us would do what you did, Mike. We'd jump on the mic. We take it in turns while we're playing, and we just like one person talking, we just like say so much shit to people. And I have so many memories of people just like sending me like voice messages and loads of other like random shit. Like we really annoyed this American guy once, and then we got him to recite like the One Ring to Rule Them All monologue from Lord of Rings and send it to us or something. Like we were just harassing him for ages. And it's just like those memories for me, just like it's just, I just feel so good I had them, because I'm not obviously not your generation, but it feels like I at least had that experience before it became, let's say like the Fortnite online model. And also like, I was just massive in first person shooters, Battlefield, Call of Duty, so much online multiplayer with my friends. But my mum, of course, was so strict. So I had my dealer at school, Andrew, who was a massive gamer, but he'd game so much, he would sell his other stuff. So I needed an Xbox hard drive. I wanted Mafia 2 and GTA 4. And he was like, okay, I'll give you all that for like 40 quid. Like, great deal. And I just come in, like, sneak it. And my parents would sometimes come into my room, like, what are you playing? I'm playing, like, Grand Theft Auto 4. I'm like, oh, it's just, like, this game set in, like, New York. I just have to drive around like normal while they watch. Because then afterwards, like, I'd be playing with my friends online. We'd just be, like, shooting each other and, like, saying so much crap to each other. Eventually, like, we wore my mum down. And because I'm the second child, like, obviously I don't get it as bad. So, yeah, like, I just have so many, like, great memories of just playing online so much, and, like, the online culture. And I think there's a lot of people now, annoyingly, not too many people like come out of that really left wing, because they were like, you wouldn't survive a Call of Duty lobby today, because everyone was throwing around the N word and saying slurs and stuff. And it's like it was like that, but then it was like there was also the sense of, which I'd never do now, which is so like, I don't know how, I'll end it on this, and let me know what you guys think. I was so much more willing, maybe because I was younger, to talk to people online. Now, when people try and talk to me online when I play a game, I mute my mic and I mute the whole thing. And I'm just like, I'm not talking to you. But when I was a kid, you'd make friends online and then you'd add them afterwards. And it was like so wholesome, because I guess it was like the birth of the internet, where you're like, this is such a novelty and it's sick. But like now it's like, no, I'm not talking to anyone online.
I have a friend that I made on SOCOM in 2003. It's on SOCOM 2. That we still talk. Like I text him, like we text. Like he's a really good photographer in Texas. That I nowadays I forget like making friends. I'm like you. I don't talk to people online. It's really weird how we went from everyone has a mic, we're all talking online, to now nobody's chatting online, unless you have to do it through like a Discord with people you know already.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah. There's very rarely, like I can't think of, and it's not just me. It's a lot of people apparently. They're just we're no longer hooking up our headsets and talking online to random people like we used to. I don't know what's changed there. It's kind of weird.
I played VR chat like years and years ago, and I got on there and I like found, I don't even remember, like I played it one time and never played it again, but like I ran to a group of people and was just silent, just like a creeper, just listening. I'm like, I don't know, like, is this it? Do I talk? Are there any games? Like, I don't want to talk. I don't want them to hear me. You know, if this was like 10 years prior, I'd be calling them all the F slur and like jumping on their heads and shit like that. But like, yeah, I agree with you. I've changed to the point where it's like, I want to be invisible. I don't want anybody to hear me.
The only time in recent years I've done it is FIFA has a mode called FIFA Clubs, where you all play as one player and you can do like matchmaking online. And because the PS5 controller has a mic on it, a lot of people do talk, but obviously they just give each other a load of abuse because it's football and you're playing like and you're losing. So me and my friend would go on, we would give people some abuse and stuff, and that was kind of fun. But then it's like at the same time, like, I'm a bit too old for this, and that's also like, I don't know if just talking to people just as you get older, you get more conscious of like, you don't want to like say something really weird, or you don't want to hate yourself or feel ostracized. So it's kind of like about protecting yourself of like, I don't want to open up to this stranger to be like rejected or to be made fun of. Like I don't want to like have more stress in my life when I'm playing something to relax. But when you're a kid, it's just like, you know, even as an older teenager, you're just like, I'll just talk to anyone and we'll have like a good game. And I do like forming bonds with people online, the quiet bond of like playing Helldivers 2, and it's like, yeah, this teammate is sick, like we'll play it all night. Or like Rocket League, really weird. When I was living in Cambodia, I was just, because I had to play Switch way more, I was playing Rocket League, teamed up with a guy. Just after one game, we played for like 5 hours straight, like dominating. And it's just like that, like telepathic connection. We didn't need to speak, but it's like, if he asked to speak, would I speak? I'm like, even though it helped so much, I'm like, no, I probably wouldn't, just for a variety of reasons. I think, I don't know what the reason is. It could just be getting older. With kids, you don't really think much. And I guess you're all in the same boat back then, where I also think gamer culture back then was more like, you're either in it or you're not. Now everyone kind of can be like in the culture. And you're talking about Fall Guys, right? And like you're playing Elden Ring and playing Fall Guys. Loads of people play Fall Guys will just be playing on their phone or something. So it's literally, you're talking to just everyone, and they might not have much of an interest in even the game itself. Where when you're playing, you know, Call of Duty Search and Destroy, where everyone's on the public mic, you're like, okay, we're hardcore. We're all in this game to play like this game, and we all love this game. It's a bit different now, I think.
It was like a cultural influence in a way, to where it's like you had to have that mic, otherwise you were the quiet one that was a weirdo. And I picked that up by not playing a lot, you know. But I was like, well, I gotta have my mic because it's weird to not talk. That's what everybody's doing. But I agree with you. I'm like very much a loner online now, and don't want to play online and don't want to talk to people.
Yeah, I really do wonder if it's an age thing, because now like I don't play online games. Like I think Battlefield 1 was the last one I sunk loads and loads of time into. But that was still like more like a solitary thing. Like I wouldn't talk to anyone. I wouldn't have friends to play with. And I guess like it's just so hard to organize it as well as you get older, like schedules together. You don't play with your friends. Even like I don't remember the last time I played with my friends. I know they have like a FIFA team going, but I just don't like have the same schedule as them, so I'm never on. And it's just like, you know, when you try, you're probably even like, because you got more responsibilities than me, you probably, when you're meeting up with friends, it's like you got to plan it like 5 months in advance. So it's like even hopping on a call for like a quick game of like whatever, it just doesn't happen anymore. So I guess, yeah, for me, I'm like you guys now, like single player is basically all I play, and then maybe some multiplayer, and then like I have, and this is one thing I was listening to you to talk about. I want to know. I want to know if you have any like blasphemy here, because I'll be actually mad at this. You're talking about like podcast games, and you've spoke about it already in this episode. So for me, a podcast game is like FIFA or Rocket League. It's like I don't have to
Yeah.
concentrate on the audio, but when I'm playing a single player RPG, I got my like 3D headphones on. I'm not touching my phone or social media. Like I'm like locked in for like 3 or 4 hours to get like immersed. And that's why like sometimes I get annoyed with people when they say like bad things about games I like. I'm like, how did you really play that though? Like, were you on like Twitch, or were you on Twitter, or were you on like TikTok while you were playing? Because I feel like sometimes if you like really get immersed, you appreciate everything more. So I just want to know, like, what are like your podcast games, and are there any podcast games that you have that shouldn't be podcast games? Like, I'm saying, like, you know, are you playing Dragon's Dogma 2 while listening to like, I don't know, like a hockey podcast or something? Like, I'm just wondering.
I've probably done that, yes.
Yeah.
For me, it's just like I have so little free time that I have to combine all my interests into my free time.
Yeah,
So,
that's fair enough. That's
like,
fair enough.
But I'll like, you know, if there's like a story beat or something, or you know, some dialogue, I will pause the podcast. I'm not gonna like, you know, drain the game out with the podcast. But if I'm just like, if I'm, especially a game where I'm exploring, like, you know, like a Dragon's Dogma, or I'm playing a lot of Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, and which I played a lot. I played 20 hours on the Switch, but the Switch version, the frame rate was so bad I had to stop playing that game. But the remaster is really good on PS5. So I'm already like 14 hours into it, and that's a game where in between the story beats, you know, I'm exploring the world, I'm fighting people. I can put on a podcast. It's not going to impact the game at all. As long as you know, that game has great music though. So there are moments where I'll just like, I'm fine to be immersed in the game as well. But if there's a podcast I want to listen to, there's very few games that are going to stop me from listening to a podcast. Like, it's got to be a really heavy, like story heavy game, or something I got to be focused on completely, there's not many of those right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you,
with that.
Mike? Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. I actually prefer games that allow me to listen to a podcast, and there's not a lot. It's hard for me to get into a really story-heavy game just because of that. Like, you really have to focus. Whereas, you know, if I'm playing, you know, Elden Ring, there's not really a story. I mean, the music is really great, but, you know, I could just turn it down while I have a podcast going in the background.
Yeah.
And, you know, I like being able to kind of zone out and space out while I'm playing, just like farming, or, you know, sometimes I'll have to pause it if there's a cutscene, or if I'm like fighting a boss that's really difficult, I'm like, okay, I need to really focus. But yeah, I very much prefer being able to listen to something in the background, catch up on news, gaming podcasts, political podcasts. It's just my preferred way of playing. I don't know if it's like an ADHD thing, but yeah, if I have something on in the background, I'm much more satisfied. It's so much harder for me nowadays to play a story-heavy game.
Yeah, I think I'm on the opposite spectrum. I'm OCD, so it's more like I am gonna focus super hard. Like, I'm not gonna be distracted. Like, I want to my head, I'm like, I gotta respect the game more, because for me, a lot of it is I take so many pictures when I'm playing, like photo mode. I have like 3,000 pictures in my gaming folder on my phone,
Wow.
just like, screenshots, because I love taking, like, I've got so many of Dragon's Dogma, because I think I love gaming so much because I really love getting really, really immersed. And there's nothing better to me than, and this is the thing, I'll do this with any single player game, even if it's not like a heavy story. Like, I'm playing Rise of the Ronin, I'm running around Japan, just doing like little bandit camps and stuff. And I'm getting that on because I guess I just like turning my brain off and imagining myself in this environment. I think too much about, like, I try and bring myself really into the world to try and appreciate it a bit more. And that's why I think Assassin's Creed, in my head, often gets a lot more hate than it deserves. I'm like, sometimes you just have to really like immerse yourself in it and think about what you're playing a bit more. Because I think sometimes a lot of people, when it's like a Ubisoft open world, which is fair enough because the activities are boring, or like
there's just too many things. That's the problem.
There's too many things.
Right.
Assassin's Creed 2 was like the perfect amount. That was a fantastic fucking game. And then I didn't even play Valhalla, which I hear is like a 90-hour game. Like, fuck that. I'm not running that
Right.
for 90 hours.
I used to love the
time is-
Assassin's Creeds
yeah.
too.
But for me, it's not about the game, it's about the world. And like playing the ancient Egypt one, and you just like hear someone playing some instrument down the street, and you walk down and you see the NPC doing that, or you see like some funeral procession. And with Valhalla as well, it's just like it sticks in my mind so well, like much. And that's why music's so important to me in video games. Like Dragon's Dogma has some good music, not too much of it. But I think sometimes, like, I think about the criticism of certain games, and I'm like, are you trying to appreciate this, or is it just like something throwaway? But that's the thing with the game criticism, I guess, is like, I don't care that people do podcasts, but it's kind of like, if you're gonna do that and then start saying games are trash because you're not paying attention enough.
Yeah, no,
I know people who skip cutscenes, and I want to kill them. I was like,
I couldn't.
Skipping cutscenes in God of War Ragnarok. Like, are you insane? Like, what?
Yeah.
I have a cousin I remember doing that and like thinking like, what the fuck are you doing? like, why are you skipping?
It's psychotic behavior.
I have that on another level of like, come on, pay attention more. But I get it. It's a hang up I have specifically. It's not like anyone's bad for doing this, but then it's just, for me, sometimes it's like, it's harder to appreciate what a game's going for. Like, that's why I defend Assassin's Creed, because I'm like, it's actually going for something. Like, it's not just trash because like the content itself of the gameplay isn't amazing. Because like, I was thinking about this when I played Valhalla, I was like, oh, it feels like post-apocalyptic Rome, the vision. And then they were saying that recently as well, like, this is what we wanted to do. And I'm like, who would actually say that if they're not engaged with the world enough? Like, you're just going to say, oh, it's like medieval England, Viking England. But I'm just like, I guess you could blame like the company as well, of like, you know, diluting the experience of all this throwaway trash, which would turn off someone like David. Like, it's like 100 hours. You're not going to play it, are you?
Like, it feels like they're trying to pad out the time.
Yeah.
And
Just give me a
they're
tight
like,
experience.
yeah, like, it's insulting almost. It's like, listen, I have a limited amount of time, limited games I have the ability to play. Don't put all this bullshit in that's just like throwaway to try to keep me playing longer. Like, nice and, like, concise. Like, that's the best, so I could play more games that I like.
Yeah, and I do get that. It's just overwhelming. The one defense I will say, I saw a comment on Shadows recently. They're like, it's the one chance we have, so we're putting it all in. And I think that's what their logic is recently, is like, we're never doing this again. Like, we're never going back to ancient Egypt. Just throw it all in, like chariot races, gladiator arenas, like chuck it all in, because we'll never get this chance, which I think is a good and bad thing, because I appreciate the scope, but like you say, like, you can't fit everything in. And would it be better if it's like we were saying with Assassin's Creed 2, that's the formula for all of them? You might like Mirage, because that's only like 20 hours. It is like Assassin's Creed 2. But yeah, like I was just thinking that recently, because just like I separate them so hard of like single player, headphones on, multiplayer, or like sports games, podcast on. But like, I'm also like, because David, you have a, you're a father and stuff. Like, I appreciate hard. Like, also, here's one question I got for you actually, because I was actually talking about this with someone. How much Switch do you play? Like, compared to PS5?
I probably play PS5 4 times more than I play Switch, but I was playing. It really depends on what's out. Like, I've been playing Paper Mario: A Thousand Year Door, the remaster, which is really good. But I'm also I'm going to sound like a crazy person because I'm playing too many RPGs. I'm also playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which is another fantastic RPG.
Was
and
that
then
the one you
Shin
and
Megami
Hassan were
Tensei
talking
5.
about?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think he likes it now, but he wasn't into the turn-based initially.
He was telling me to play it. But
it's really good.
I've never been into them, so
actually that would be a good. You know what? That could be a good entry point for turn-based combat, because there's real-time elements to it where you control the position of your character while you're also choosing your
I definitely need some way in for sure.
Yeah, actually, that's out of all that's probably the most approachable turn-based combat there is, because there's strategic elements to it as well. Like, you can hit characters into other objects that hurts them more, or hit them into somebody else and that hurts them. So there's like, that game was fantastic. I just put it down because I started playing Shin Megami Tensei 5. I did not expect to only be playing that for the past like 4 days. But so yeah, I'm playing like 3 RPGs at once. But Switch, like, it really depends on what's out. Like, I played a ton of it last year when Zelda came out, and then I stopped playing it, and just it really depends completely on what's coming out.
Because I was thinking more in terms of like having like more responsibilities and not enough like time, where it's just like I got uninterrupted time to do nothing as much. Like,
having a child and stuff. But Switch, the ease of access, obviously the portability, but you just turn it on and start playing. I was just wondering if like that factored in of like it's just so much easier to sit for 30 minutes and play the Switch, turn it off, play 30 minutes again later or something.
I very rarely play games when I'm with my son anyway, so it's not something I like. I don't know. I just feel like if I'm gonna pull something out, he, you know, I first of all I should be like there paying attention to him, like you know what I mean. I should be playing with my son. I shouldn't just be like sitting back and not playing with him. But in addition to that, like that, so the Switch, you still have to. I don't know. I guess you could put it to sleep, but I actually played my 3DS for a bit. Or I have played my 3DS when I'm watching my son, and that's a little easier because I just close the top and just put it down.
Yeah,
and then there you go. Like that's really good for, you know, like what was I playing? Like was it Advance Wars? Some turn-based strategy game I was playing on the 3DS, and that is easier just to kind of put down and put away. But yeah, I don't know. I tend not to play games when I'm with him anyway, so it's not really an issue. I think Cab is freezing. Are you freezing?
I'm good now.
Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Mike
Cab
is good.
Frozen.
Cab, you're freezing. He's frozen. Currently frozen. We may have to just wipe this down because his face is frozen on screen. Yeah. I'm not sure if he can hear us. Are you there? Can you chat?
I can't hear him.
No. All right. We may have to go. Well, this was a fun conversation.
Yeah,
there.
I had a blast. There he is.
Back kind of. No, he's still frozen.
Yeah.
And we should, let's do this on a more regular basis. It feels like we have a lot we could talk about.
Yeah, yeah, that was really fun.
There's so many games I'm playing. I have stories to tell. I got a 2DS that I was gonna get for
Oh shit.
I was gonna get for my son, and then there are games on here that I want to play, and I started playing myself. So there's just a lot that I could be.
That's
talking
funny.
about.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. You back? Oh.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
You definitely froze.
My back.
We were closing because we weren't sure if we were going to get you back.
Yeah, we were saying goodbye.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can wrap it up anyway. We've been talking for a while. Oh yeah, 2DS. I really want one, by the way.
It's really sweet. I got it off eBay. That's the thing. So I have a 3DS already, which I love. I love my 3DS. But I was surprised at how comfortable the 2DS is to hold, and having just both screens right there on the one piece of plastic as opposed to having to flip it up. Like there's really it's the form factor is perfect, and I barely use the 3D anyways on the 3DS. That doesn't make sense to necessarily play the 3DS.
So I got this thing on mine.
Oh, you got it. See, I want small. Smart. I want small form factor.
No, I do actually. I was looking at one because my thumbstick broke on this, and I had to glue it like a new thing on. But 2DS does look cool, and also you got all the DS games as well. And just speaking of Wind Waker, if anyone hasn't played Phantom Hourglass, definitely play that if you got DS.
Yeah, I actually don't think I played that one. I love A Link Between Worlds. Link Between Worlds on the 3DS.
Yeah.
That may be my favorite Zelda. I mean, I don't know. Breath of the Wild is pretty fucking good, and as its sequel is. But apart from that, like Link Between Worlds is such a good Zelda game.
I don't think I've ever played.
I would go back. Oh, I would.
That's the 3DS exclusive.
I grab a 3DS or 2DS just to play that.
Oh, it's like a sequel to A Link to the Past, I think.
Oh, yeah. I need to play that. Yeah, I don't know why.
Really
I guess I didn't really get into Zelda until like later on. But yeah, I need to play that.
Phantom Hourglass is cool because it's touchscreen controls the whole time. Like the whole thing is controlled with the touchscreen, but it actually works really well. Like think having just the pen. That's what I really like about the DS actually. Like going back, I think it really holds up well because you use the stylus so much and there's nothing like it. Because touchscreen controls on the phone, it's all just your thumbs. But using a pen with like maybe some shoulder buttons, it just feels so good. Like for Animal Crossing or for Zelda, or even for like Advance Wars, just like moving the things with the pen. Just feel like it's definitely like that's the one thing to end it on, maybe a political note for the political channels. Capitalism and gaming, I just don't like how safe it's, and you're seeing it with the Switch too. It's basically becoming like the iPhones now. It's like it's just an iteration, and now we're just going to have
Switch 2, 3, 4, 5 looking the exact same, and PS5, 6, 7, 8. It's just gonna be the same thing forever, isn't it? Like it's just never gonna change. You're never gonna get a DS again.
I mean, well, that's true, but I feel like there's going to be less hardware, or there's going to be. I can't imagine they're just going to keep doing what they've been doing for the next 20 years. Like I think there's going to be a big shakeup in some way. Already, there's a big move to PC. Like a lot of people apparently
Yeah.
are just on the PC and don't even have a console. And console sales generally, like they have not grown generation to generation. Like I think PS5 is on pace with PS4 right now, or just under it.
Mhm.
But it hasn't, and capitalism is they want shit to grow. So if
Yeah.
if the
But-
if the install base isn't growing for consoles, they're gonna have to find some other
But
way.
I'm thinking of it more like iPhones, of like, especially if Xbox get out of it, it's just Nintendo and Sony. What would they even have to do? You just make decent sequels to like your franchise, because that's the thing is Sony's become like a franchise like studio, which it never was as much before, where it's like God of War, Horizon, Last of Us, all these like, and you got like the new IPs by Santa Monica and Naughty Dog coming out as well. So it's just going to be like with the Switch, it's like these massive exclusive games, but that's all what people really care about. Because with VR as well, you're talking about VR chat. I like VR, but it's just never going to catch on. It's just too clunky, and I think
it's not going to.
that's the future.
Yeah.
That's the future. I think VR is the future that we could have had, but I just don't think it'll ever catch on. Like if you told people maybe like 5 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago, the first VR things, like well, now everyone will reject VR and will be playing with the exact same like controllers. They probably think you're quite crazy, because they're like, "Nah, this is the future." Like how the iPhone was the future in like 2007, but now it's just like, Switch and then Steam Deck. It's all just going to be this. It's going to be the exact same thing. Everything's going to be the same, and we're just never going to get like a Wii or a DS again, probably, because you can't. Who's going to play that? Right? Really, we're so conditioned. Fortnite on a touchscreen or a Switch. That's the future, I guess.
It'll be Steam.
There has to be, I think, just a demand for something different.
I kind of feel like it's all going towards one path, where PC and most games are on PC. I mean, for me, I have the consoles, but I prefer to play on PC and buy everything on PC if I can, unless there's like a really good like exclusive on PlayStation. Like I had to pick up Spider-Man 2 because I couldn't wait for that one, even though I know they'll put it on PC. But yeah, I think that's kind of the future. We're going in this one direction, and maybe you have Nintendo consoles on the side, but like PlayStation and Xbox, I feel like the more they put their games on PC, the more I'll probably prefer to play them that way, just because I feel like, they run better, and I just want all my collection in one place. So if I have my big Steam library with all the games that, you can always go back to, I just prefer that.
It's more customizable as well, like in terms of mods, graphics.
Exactly.
And then in theory, you get Steam Deck as well, so you can download it. It's portable. So I do get it. For me, as someone who has a gaming PC sitting right next to me right now, which has never ran a game on it, it's just like too much. It's too much hassle in terms of. I tried to play Halo Infinite on it. Literally nearly destroy my computer, and I'm like, I don't know what I've done wrong. I put it in low settings, and it's like literally setting it on fire. So I'm just like, okay, maybe
no
I
kidding.
won't ever. Yeah, like because I've got a decent one. Like back in 2021, I bought it for like £1,000. Like I don't know what make it is, but I've never used it for gaming. It's just video editing, and that's it. And it's just I'm just too tech illiterate to be going through walkthroughs on YouTube and going into files and messing with them. Like I played Sonic Frontiers on my fucking Switch. Like I don't give a shit about like high-end graphics or anything like that.
You play on the Switch? I heard that version was terrible.
It ran fine. The open world looked like shit though. But I completed it 3 times on the console. But Witcher 3 on Switch, I'll play anything on Switch. I prefer something running well that I know will be consistent, and that's why I like consoles. Like I don't have to mess with settings. But when I'm playing PC, and I've played in the past, everyone just makes it sound like a fucking nightmare of like, oh, it can't run Batman Arkham Knight. That was a big one back in the day. And it's like, oh, yeah, it has the best graphics, but like it literally won't even work. And also like terrible PC ports like The Last of Us 1 and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like for a lot of them, they don't really give a shit about the PC market at the moment. Like Sony is changing, where it might be like day one soon. Like you get the God of War, whatever the next one is, on the same day. But yeah, for me, it's just too much hassle. Like peace of mind is better as well. And the thought of like my PC breaking because I'm trying to play a game, or like bricking my PC, which I know you can do through gaming, just because I'm so stupid. Like I know I would do something like that. So it's just not worth the money, I guess. And
It-
I just hate
um,
Windows.
You might
I
just
just
have
hate
a
Windows.
pre-build that's not great. Like some of those pre-built PCs that you buy don't have very good graphics cards, or they're
Yeah.
outdated when you get them. So that could be it as well. Because like I bought a pre-built, and it basically runs everything. Like I don't get ultra settings; it's just high. But I have like a huge like I don't know what is it, like 51-inch monitor. It's like round and it curves, and so
Wow.
like playing
Yeah.
a game on PC is like IMAX. Like it's like, you know, compared to like a PS5, like I can't play Ghost of Tsushima in that massive like curve. So it just feels like you're
Yeah.
in a whole new world.
Mm.
So like to me, that's what I kind of think is more alluring about PC, is that typically they run better. At least for me. And just being able to like do different things, the ability to play a game in widescreen. Like playing Liza P in widescreen where you have like your peripheral and you just feel fully immersed is just so, it's just you can't really explain it until you're experiencing it. Like flying around the city as Spider-Man in like ultra wide is like
Yeah.
mind blowing. It's so crazy. Like I played it on, you know, PlayStation, but then playing it on ultra wide and PC, I'm like, whoa, this is fucking insane. I'm soy facing the whole time. Just
Yeah,
because it's so, you know, it's different. It feels like it's the next step up to me at least.
I am jealous of that because I've seen some Cyberpunk mod videos and it looks like real life, and I'm just like,
yeah.
how can you play a game that looks that good? So I'm jealous in that way, but I don't know. As I've gotten older, like I used to care so much about graphics, but now these days I'm just like, if it runs fine. Like I have an Xbox Series. What's the lower one? Series S, is it?
S.
S. Yeah. So I don't care. Like I'll play like all the exclusives on that, even if they like look worse. Like Starfield looked like shit, to be honest. Like I couldn't believe that was like their big title, but like, yeah, well, maybe one day, because obviously the portability is nice with a gaming PC to bring that around. Because I'm gonna go live abroad again, and I'm just like, I'm really hoping the Switch 2 comes out soon. So I'm like, I need to take something with me because I only took my Switch, and for 7 months that's all I had, which I know sounds really stupid. Like for 7 months you just had a Switch, like, and you're complaining. I'm like, but for me it was such a big thing. It's like I only have a Switch for 7 months, and now I'm thinking about like even longer. I'm like, no, I need something that can play like Cyberpunk or like Death Stranding or something. I need something like that. So a PC would be a good option. I guess I'd just be too scared of it getting nicked and stuff. But
My
one day,
brother's
mate.
traveling right now, and he got a gaming laptop for like he's gone for like a year, like abroad, and it's great for him. Like you find a good gaming laptop, and now or even like a Steam Deck, you can play most things on a Steam Deck.
I'm holding out because Phil Spencer alluded to an Xbox portable, and then they're saying Switch 2 early 2025. So I'm like, Switch 2 launches, and it's like 4K docked, 60 frames, Tears of the Kingdom. I'm happy enough with that. But if it comes out and it's like really bad, and I'm just thinking like all the PS5 games that come out, and I just will never be able to play them. So I might have to consider it, but then it's just like dropping, like you have to drop so much money, don't you, for a PC? Like, Mike, how much do you spend like loads of money like upgrading it and stuff?
I haven't upgraded it. My PC was, I think, I bought a main gear pre-build, and it was like 2,200 in 2021, I think.
Yeah, so better than my one.
Yeah, I can't remember. Like you, but I also have a gaming laptop, and I was like streaming on Twitch while playing like Sekiro, and it was running pretty good. I think it was like 30 FPS. And yeah, it just depends on like, I would say if you're trying to get like a gaming PC, you don't have to know all the specs, because I'm a dumbass when it comes to all those, you know, specifics. But like, you know, if you can get one that just does standard high, in terms of graphics, you don't even have to mess with it. Like I don't ever mess with the graphics. Like my PC just defaults to whatever, and it always looks really good, better than like usually better than like PS5 and whatnot. So it just depends. Like I think that is a problem with PC, is it's less accessible than a console, because you never have to worry about, is this going to run, or is the console version going to be shittier, unless you're talking about like the Switch version and it's like some port. But yeah, accessibility is a big thing, and once PCs get to that point, then I think it's going to be a huge like watershed moment. It's all going to switch. I think you're kind of starting to see the paradigm shift because of Steam Decks. Like that's so accessible. Like you get a Steam Deck and you just look at the game and it says Steam Deck compatible, then you're good. You know, you can't. You can't.
A lot of devs now are designing for compatibility for the Steam Deck. So as long as that baseline is there, because they know the a lot of people have a Steam Deck, so it's an important target to hit to get sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels like a console. I use an Xbox controller to play Elden Ring on PC. Some games I'll play, mouse and keyboard. Depending on like if I'm shooting, then you get a better aim with like the mouse. But yeah, it just feels like a console. And I think the more and more that they are becoming console-esque and more accessible, I think a lot of people will prefer to play that way.
It's also future-proof as well, isn't it? Like you're talking about your library, unless like the Saudi investment fund like buys up Steam and like bankrupts it or something. Like your games are pretty much good, aren't they? So like, it's definitely like if they make like a PS, like you have the Xbox Live on PC, they do like a PlayStation one for that, where they like can guarantee of like you buy Last of Us on this storefront, it's gonna run like this. I think that could be a big deal just for accessibility, because dealing with all these storefront, especially with like libraries as well. Like think about everyone's libraries. Like for mine, PlayStation goes back to like 2011, or like my Xbox One is crazy. Like goes back to like 2006, and it's like I'm downloading games from like then. It's a nice thing to have, but the thought of like leaving that behind forever, like all that history, like all that money you put into it. Yeah, it is definitely like a hard one.
Somebody said in the chat, Steam sales are like 80% off full price games. That's a huge draw too, because like, you put a lot of money in on the front end to get a good PC, but like the games are so much more affordable on Steam, and they go on sale all the time.
I gotta say though, PlayStation has a shit ton of sales. Like there are games like I notice all the time. Like that's where I get most of my games are during PlayStation sales. They have like every month there's like a new big sale, and there's like a ton of games that'll be on sale there, or stuff like I have the PlayStation subscription, like one of the what is it, Essential, or no, the higher one, and there's a lot of games on there as well that are just available that you can play because you're paying a subscription.
If you weren't a gamer until recently, the library on PlayStation for the prices, like the sales, I'm looking at some of those games. I'm like, Metal Gear Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes for £1, Witcher 3 Complete Edition for £9. I'm like, if you, but they all have like next gen upgrades. Like they're all running like 60 frames at least, and it's like if you haven't played games over the last decade and you're jumping in, like especially if you're younger, maybe listen to this, go back and look at the top 10 games in the last like decade and look up them on PlayStation. You're gonna get so many good deals. I don't mind. I paid a lot of money for games over time, but it's like I look at these now, and because I bought so many, it never appeals to me, the sales really. But I'm like, holy shit! Like if I was new, if you skip the PS4, you're in for such a treat just for the back catalog on PlayStation.
Yeah,
so much good shit, and all the exclusives as well. Like if imagine like just not playing, Last of Us 2 or Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, like it's absolutely fucking insane, like the quality there. So that's the thing I do like, and I like now Nintendo have finally said, yeah, you can play your Switch games on the Switch 2 pretty much. But they're the type of company who would fucking release the Switch 2 and not be backwards compatible.
If they do that, I'll be so pissed.
Because they're the one company that are sitting on a pile of money. Like I'm not even joking. Like Nintendo doesn't have. I think I was reading they don't have debt. So they actually just have like they make like surpluses and they just fucking like keep it.
They have
so
loads of cash.
So it's like it's not like a lot of these Japanese other companies like Sony or even Microsoft, where it's like they are wealthy, but they have a lot of debt and stuff as well, and it's tied to like various other things. Like Nintendo's such like an island. That's why it's always been able to do whatever the fuck it wants, pretty much. Like, oh, we'll make a handheld with 2 screens, or we'll make a Wii with like no HD and shit like that. Like it's just so insane. But yeah, we can wrap it up there, unless you guys want to talk about anything before we go off.
No, that's a good place to end it.
I'm good.
Yeah.
We should talk more.
Yeah, we should definitely do this again. Mike, have you played Cyberpunk?
I played it a little bit. I played it in 2020 when it was broken. Haven't gone back, but I've heard it's amazing, and I do plan to go back at some point.
Okay.
I was like you, I played it when it came out, and it was like, what the fuck is this? And I played it when the update hit, and it feels to me like futuristic, like GTA. Like it's really,
I'm definitely
really
going back. I've heard nothing but good stuff, so I'm excited.
I've never met someone in my real life who's completed Cyberpunk, so I've literally been sitting on my opinions of it for like 3 years, not being able to talk about it. So I need people to finish it so we can have a big conversation about Cyberpunk, because I just
really want to talk about it so much. That's the one game. And Mike, do not listen to a podcast while you're playing that, even though it's open world. Please just don't listen to a podcast.
I don't think
like,
I would for a game like that. No.
Yeah, but even like the open world shit, it's all about like the vibe, and also it has like radio stations and stuff. Like you can't be listening to like one of my videos about something really stupid while like playing, because the whole point of the game is the city. Like you have to really immerse yourself in it. So with your widescreen thing and the mods, yeah, you'll have like the best time. So
yeah, if it goes on sale on the Steam summer sale, I'll probably pick it up because I bought it on Xbox.
Pay full price. It's a full price.
Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that.
It's an old game. I'm sure it'll go on sale.
It usually goes on sale for like $30, and the DLC isn't too much. So yeah, if it's on sale, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, DLC is really good too.
No, yeah. I'd love to talk about it with both of you. I'd also like to talk about the politics of it as well, because they're both super interesting. But I'd also be really interested in hearing your take on like what they are really, because people, I know it's got a lot of criticism by some people for not being like anti-capitalist, left wing enough. So I think it'd be an interesting discussion of like what you guys got for it. But yeah, you need to play it, and we need to have a massive conversation, like literally settle in like 3 hours.
Oh, he's got Elden Ring coming out, DLC coming out, so
I'm knee deep in Elden Ring right now.
Play a real 10 out of 10 game. Don't play like this fake hype.
Damn.
Fake type garbage.
Shots fired.
And I've been saying Cyberpunk's 10 out of 10 since 2021. Like I literally finished it like a couple months after it came out. So like I'm like this, you know, I knew what was good before everyone else did. So you have to believe me. It's like, you know,
before it was good, you knew it was good.
Yeah.
But no, it was good, and everyone just couldn't see it because they're all like getting like, it's not like Grand Theft Auto 6. So it didn't appeal to people like David who just want to like hijack cars and run from the police. But if you
the systems were broken, the fucking police were broken, everything was broken.
If you appreciate like nuance and like good writing and just like Cyberpunk like as a genre, you would have always liked it. So anyway, now like the normie gamers are getting in on it, we can have a conversation. So yeah, Mike, you can join the Elden Ring DLC where you just run around in a circle, like dodge, do that like for 100 hours, and
no. It's grinding for 100 hours, playing the actual game for like 1 hour. That's that's the experience.
It literally okay. We do another episode one day, the Elden Ring hate episode. That's another problem I have with it. It's like
there's enough Elden Ring hate in this episode. We don't know if I can do that again.
I'll defend Elden Ring. I'm a simp. Okay, we'll battle it out.
I don't make enemies already. It's too early.
Before we next talk, I will stick it on again, and I'll give my updated. I was 26. Just 26 when I first played it. I'm 28 and a half, much wiser, and I'll go back and I'll have a little go, and I'll tell you my updated opinions. Maybe I'll like it because I've gotten better at like that type of game, but
just do research. Don't play it like going in blind, because there's a lot of resources online, a huge community that makes it bearable, where it's like, okay, if you want to do magic, here's the best spells you can get. Here's the best weapons for that. That makes it so much more bearable because it's such a massive game. It's going to take you forever to find like good stuff. Like straight up, go look up, whatever build, and they'll say, hey, this is where it is. Here's what you can find it. It makes it so much more enjoyable, in my opinion, anyways.
I will give it another go. Also, it's one of the few games inspired by Irish mythology, apparently, because all the names like very Gaelic. I read it because that's the thing. It's so fucking incomprehensible. I didn't even know that until I started reading about it. Oh, like it's inspired by this Gaelic myth. I'm like, oh, how the fuck was I meant to know? Like the only character I remember is like the loathsome dung eater or something. It's like because
the dung eater,
he screams it in the intro, so it's like stuck in my head forever.
The loathsome dung eater.
Like fucking hell, like literally the only thing I remember.
I will play Neo 2 in the chat. I just played Neo 1 and loved it, but yeah. All right, sorry.
And Rise of the Ronin is the same developers.
Oh, that's why I started playing Neo, because it's like, okay, I got to work through their games, like Neo 1, Neo 2, Wolong, and then Rise of the Ronin.
I'm in the JRPG corner, so I got my own shit going on.
You got 100 games coming out each month. So
I got too many long ass games to fucking play.
Yeah.
Oh, don't elaborate on it. But what games are you playing right now? Like just a quick list.
Me?
Or both of you?
Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance just came out, the remaster of the one that came out 3 years ago. Paper Mario 1000 Year Door on Switch. Nice. And what else did I mention? Oh yeah, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. And I always find the time for like a Rocket League match every now and then. So
Yeah, you gotta have them on
every
the
week I
side.
play a few matches of Rocket League.
Mhm.
What rank are you?
In Rocket League, uh, uh, I I don't know. There's gaps between my plays, so I always end up having to
Yeah,
play 10 more
do the
matches.
10 again. Yeah.
I think it was like gold 3 or something last time. I don't. Oh, you mean like the actual number? I forget. I don't even know.
No, just the symbol. I don't remember mine.
I think it's
Yeah,
like gold 3 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we should play sometime. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan. Mike, what about you?
I just finished Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, and
Oh,
I'm all
nice.
in on Elden Ring before the DLC comes out. I'm trying to grind my way up and beat the bosses to be able to access the DLC.
Are you streaming it?
No, I'm not streaming it.
I will say, if you want to be some sort of gaming streamer, it's the time. Elden Ring DLC stream. Like
Yeah.
I've seen
There's
so
gonna be
many
so
people I
many of
follow.
them though. You
I
gotta
know, but
stand out.
so
Play
many,
something
so many
different.
people I follow, just like their numbers when they play that recently, like have doubled. Like I'm seeing people
Really?
who get 50, they're getting 200, like for like
Wow.
8-hour streams and stuff. So if you ever wanted to be a gaming streamer, you got to jump on that.
I think nobody can compete with, and I can't remember her name. There's this girl. She plays 2 Elden Rings simultaneously, one with a controller, one with a dance pad. And she,
Oh man.
I do not know how she does it.
people do this.
Look up
Maybe
videos
she's-
of her.
Maybe
She
she's
is-
fucking lying and someone else holding the controller beside her or something.
I don't know. Like
That
it,
sounds like
it's
bullshit
just
to me.
she's of a different world. Like I don't know how the fuck she does it, but it's crazy. Oh, is it Miss Mika? Yeah, she is a legend. But yeah, that.
Yeah,
Nobody can
that's
compete with
insane.
her.
Yeah, and just for me, Rise of the Ronin, completed Dragon's Dogma last week, FIFA on Switch, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Not as much as you guys are invested these days. I just focus on one. Really,
I'm also playing more, but it's not even worth. Like I got games on the 2DS. I'm playing. Valkyrie. Is it Valkyrie Profile or I forget? But it's the Covenant of the Plume is like the latter half of that title.
Madman, David.
strategy-
So many games. My brain
strategy
couldn't
game,
take it
and
all.
I'm like you, but I'll put stuff in the like. I stopped playing God of War for like 5 months before finishing it. Like I'm like you, but I'll have them on the back burner. But then I'll just get super obsessed with one. Like Dragon's Dogma, I took a break from for like a month and a half and then finished. I'm really bad for
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, I'm like you. In
I'll
that
do
way,
that
but not-
sometimes
not-
in some games. Yeah.
It's like spinning all these plates. I got to just focus on one. So my single player one is Ronin right now. Like then I just play like a bunch of multiplayer ones. But no, yeah, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the stories about you guys growing up. It's just so fucking because in my head when I think about gaming, I think that everyone just playing like fucking Call of Duty or Xbox Live. So like it's interesting talking to people because obviously in my real life I don't talk to many people who are like well old and stuff. I'm joking, like like
I
a
was
couple
about to
years
say,
older and
damn.
stuff. But I just like everyone I know is like about my age because obviously I'm full-time YouTuber, so I'm not in the workplace talking to like people who maybe like a tiny bit older and stuff. So it's
Now
definitely
we're
interesting.
co-workers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, very little
Wait,
social
yeah.
contact otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, no, let's definitely do it again. We can work out when to do it in the future. Also, I know David wants to watch a Portugal game because I just got it up as well.
Oh yeah, it's on
was-
3. That's
yeah,
right.
well, I was just going to say,
And I got to jump on
Just
another podcast.
oh, sorry.
Oh my God.
Quick question. Do you guys ever put podcasts on your main channel and it doesn't affect anything? Like you can
I
just
do
leave it
Leftist
up?
Mafia on the main channel.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
Yeah,
I was
it's on the
always
main
told
channel,
growing
but
up, like don't stick 'em
It's
on,
hard
just
to know if
take
it
'em off.
affects it or not.
Yeah.
Like they separate it out as 2 separate categories, so it might not. But I don't know.
I upload too infrequently. I think I'll take it down and put it up somewhere else as a separate thing. But no, yeah. Thanks for joining, Mike. Appreciate it's early.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, no, had a really good time. Nice to talk about games without feeling.
Yes.
Can you please shut up, please? I don't play games. Like that's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
real life.
Yeah, I can nerd
That's
out
why
a
it's on
little
channel
bit.
2.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we end this, or how do I end it? 'Cause it's on my YouTube as well.
Oh, I could just end it. See
Just
you
end it.
guys.
Okay,
Bye.
cheers. Talk later.